All right, so this is going to be my review for Barbie. Um, this was an alright movie. I saw Oppenheimer before I saw Barbie. I did enjoy Barbie more, probably because there was more fantasy to leech on to. It was a fun movie. I was expecting it to be goofy and funny and full of fantasy and just kind of, kind of weird and there being a strong presence or influence or message of body language and things like that. Um, yeah, it was in there. The movie was a lot more than what the preview said it was going to be. There was stronger messages there. There were a few times when the fourth wall was broken. There was okay, I guess. A lot of people were saying it's woke and everything. That term woke is just so overused, and at this point, who even knows what the definition is? Is woke meaning that you celebrate a political point of view? Is being woke means you're self-aware of the story and the story that it is you're telling, and you convey positive messages that are more literal and more apparent? Or is woke about a whole idea of being spiritually aware of something that is more or what is beyond what it is that you see? And by having that awareness, you're able to spiritually enlighten yourself through it. The term that was the original term of one of the original terms of being woke, and it's just changed so much over time. So seeing the reviews and everything about how this movie was woke, I don't know exactly what they mean by that, but from what I understand, there was a lot of political insertion in this movie, a lot of it. And I guess when they say woke, it's stuff like that, because there are times when these kids were talking, this little girl was talking or whatever, and they were just so familiar with all these political terms and everything, and this girl was giving this whole speech in the cafeteria in one scene to Margot Robbie, to Barbie, and she was like, "Oh, you're everything wrong with the world and this and that and all this stuff," and it's just hearing there's so much political stuff going on, and it was very heavy in this movie. I was not expecting that, but it was there, and it did kind of bother the story a little bit. It did kind of break the flow of things, but it also tried to become its own identity for the overall theme of the movie. That did get a little bit bothersome, but again, I tried to enjoy the movie as best as I possibly could. I tried to ignore that stuff. Other than the politics, there was let's see more. There were some nice cameos. There were some good cameos in this movie. I did enjoy. There was Alan. There was a character named Alan. I really enjoyed him and his cameo. He was good. Apparently, he was a doll that was created a long time ago to be Ken's friend, but didn't really become popular, and I guess he was rebranded a few times and re-released, but nothing stuck with his character, and he was overall abandoned from what I understand. But yeah, he was in this movie. A lot of the old Barbie ideas showed up, and they had some recognition and things like that. The creator of Barbie was, I guess, named after the creator of Barbie's daughter, apparently, and both of them actually showed up in the movie. Their cameos were very heavy, and that kind of did bother me a little bit, because it wasn't like, hey, here's a special cameo. It was, hey, this character is a big deal, and you don't know why until like the very end. And their cameos kind of felt a bit too much, because they didn't just show up and say, hey, I'm an important presence, bye. It was just, hey, I'm here, let's stretch out a whole scene and then separate, but that scene was very a powerful reflection of the Matrix. This movie Barbie had a lot of influence from the first Matrix movie, and I did notice that. There were a couple of times when I was watching it, and I could see the reference that the Barbie world was like the simulation. It was the Matrix. It was the false world, and the real world was like, the real world and all that stuff. And Barbie, Margot Robbie or whatever, she was supposed to be like the female Neo. So there was a lot of that in this. Oh, darn it! There was a lot of that in this movie. A lot of Matrix references. There was a scene where Barbie was having tea with this woman, and you could tell she was supposed to be like the Oracle. There, and the kitchen looked similar. The room was just weird. It was a whole thing. And then the weird Barbie having to pick the pill. She was like the Morpheus figure. So there was a lot. There was some Matrix references in it. So I understand the idea of Barbie was supposed to reside in this mental idea within the psyche of women, and they did project that idea. So that was apparent. Some other messages. So I guess the overall idea of Barbie was that, hey, women can be whoever they want to be. And that's why there were so many different ideas of Barbie, because it was supposed to help girls understand their identities and understand that they could be whoever they want to. It's endless who they can become or what they can do, what they can achieve. And and that's why overall there were so many different versions of Barbie. And somehow that got lost in translation. One of the positive messages about the movie is one of the creators, or the creator, whoever, she did mention that when she made Barbie, she was supposed to give a positive influence and things like that. But I believe there was a reference, I believe, in that same scene where the creator also said that, the overall idea, like the whole, we hate Barbie, Barbie destroyed, how girls see themselves and the perfectness and the perkiness and this and that the overall idea of Barbie actually destroyed the self-esteem of women and things like that. And I believe the creator in that same scene was saying that no, there's something within the human psyche that needs a voice or needs something to kind of give it, latch on to. So this idea of there being a perfect Barbie, or being perfect in this and that, or having that self-esteem and comparing to Barbie, that's something that exists in the human psyche, and Barbie was just a face to give something that already existed in the female psyche, just a face. Just there's this feeling I have, and there's something that right there, I'm just going to blame it on that and give these feelings inside of me that identity, which is Barbie. And then I'm going to hate Barbie because it's this external thing that I can hate, where I don't have to fully acknowledge hating myself to every degree. That's just me breaking down kind of what she said. So that was also in the movie. So some awareness in that area was there. There was a lot of attacking men in this movie, a lot, and personally, I didn't feel very good about watching it, being a guy. And I could tell there was a lot of feminists, like the bad there's a lot of feminist influence in this movie. And it's like they took everything that made men who they are, and they completely gave it a point of view of villainy, or antagonized it, basically. So, me being a guy and watching this movie, certain things were said about men. I'm like, oh, okay. And then it was said, oh, they're like this because this, and this, and that makes them bad people. And I'm like, oh. So this movie did implement a lot of false ideas of why men are the way that they are. And it honestly isn't right, in my opinion. It really wasn't fair. It's because it's like, it doesn't matter if I'm a guy trying to give an opinion about a movie that's supposed to be targeted toward women. That's not the point. The point is that this movie is going to further push a negative agenda for how women view men or how women see men. There was no positive resolution, especially for the male story arc of this movie. The men were just, everyone was goofy, but especially the men were. They just made men seem so bad and terrible. There was no logic behind why the men did what they did, except for giving it an emotional, logical, justification, which still, as a man, didn't quite make sense. But again, I think that the movie was told from a feminist point of view, and how, men are seen as villains in a female's world, and there really was no logical connection as to why that was. I don't know if it's really like that, but in that movie, that's how it was. And the end of the movie, or not the end, but the whole Barbie and Ken thing, of course, the romance wasn't quite there. And knowing Margot Robbie, she probably didn't want that herself. I assume it was her because of the Birds of Prey movie that she did for DC, and her wanting to find her independence after breaking up with the Joker and all that stuff. And it's like, that's a cool idea, but you have to understand that you have to create what you're escaping from first. You can't just create, oh, let's go be empowering. It's like, what are you being empowered from? So that's the biggest mistake, I think, when the Birds of Prey movie came out. And that same idea or influence and feeling I felt was heavy in Barbie at certain points. So that's why I think it was Margot Robbie, especially when, Ken was like, hey, I want to be with you, I love you, and everything. And Barbie was like, hey, I need to find who I am, and maybe you need to find out who Ken is. The whole sincere, her letting Ken go and saying, Ken, you need to find out who you are without me, and stuff like that just seemed like a big slap in the face. That entire scene did not feel sincere. It did not feel emotional. The sad music was going. The emotions were there. The scene was set up for it. But the reality of that scene felt like it wasn't sincere or emotional or empathetic at all in any way whatsoever. It just felt like, hey, you're a man, get out of my face. But I'll just be nice about saying it. But at the end of the day, you could just feel the underlying hatred within the surface. This movie did have a lot of negative influences, and I was hoping that there would be more positive influences in there, but no, there was a very strong feeling of hate in it. Other than the messages, I had fun with the adventure of the movie. I had fun with the goofiness of the movie. But when you create such a good atmosphere for somebody, and then you use hatred as a form of empowerment, that is a very dangerous combination, especially when that's targeted toward a younger audience, a younger impressionable audience. And as for adults, there was a scene where, I think she was played as Ugly Betty, now I think about it. But there was a scene where the mom of the movie, she just let everything out. Oh, you can't do this, you can't do that. If we do this, then we're going to be labeled as that and this and that. And it's like, okay, so she's now being the voice of being an adult woman, which is fine. It is what it is. It's fine. But it's just, when you're targeting the younger audience, and then now she becomes the voice of the older audience, you now create this weird link between both younger and older generation, and you now have both of their attentions. And the overall message of the movie, I felt was pretty bad, because when you link both older and younger, and you try to make both of their points feel valid, but you use hatred as a form of validation, it's just awful. But other than that, the movie was okay. It was all right. Like I said, I enjoyed it. Other than all of that, I was able to enjoy it. Other than that, and yeah, I did enjoy it more than some other movies, so it wasn't completely bad. It's just the political stuff, and it was said that you could tell that they struggled trying to write an ending for the movie, and it felt like they were tripping over their own feet of how to end this movie. The movie felt like it ended about 3 or 4 times, and when it finally did end, it felt like it wasn't even an ending. It's just like, oh, it's just okay. It's another scene. It was another scene. Like literally, the scene that it ended in could have been put in the middle of the movie as just a comic relief moment. But they put it at the end of the movie. It just didn't feel right. But anyway, that's my review for Barbie. Hope you enjoy it. Hope if you do watch it, hopefully you do enjoy it and you get something good and positive out of it. Empowerment is fine. Feeling empowered, feeling like you can do anything is fine. But at the same time, if you feel like you are above the world and you do nothing with it at all, then you're just going to be a hamster in a hamster wheel. You're not going to go anywhere. And you're going to have all this, oh, I can do anything I want to. And then you're just going to have this big ego. And apparently having a big ego is what's wrong with human society or with men. So this movie just felt like it really puts women in their ego of empowerment and then keeps them there. But no, if you have a high ego, you do something with that sense of empowerment. And this movie felt like it didn't do that. It didn't give a release. It just gave a build up and then stay there. And that's dangerous. That's when constipation happens. You build something up and it has nowhere to go. And also there was just, like I said, lack of empathy. And the last thing I'll say before I go is, it's fine to be empowered in who you are. It's just, you don't have to hate to feel powerful within yourself. You don't have to look at the world as being an enemy. You don't have to look for an enemy just to be happy with yourself. Just learn to appreciate yourself for who you are. Learn how to be at peace with it. I know that's pretty difficult because some of the most powerful attributes that women have are things that today's society do not appreciate. And therefore, it makes it hard for that sense of empowerment to go somewhere that is very progressive, very positively progressive, and can help society grow in such a way. And so that was one thing that bothered me. I was really hoping to see a lot of, hey, you're a female, you have this, this, and this, and these can be amazing things for the world. But no, it's just you can do this, this, and this, and just keep it all to yourself. Keep it all in yourself. Keep it all in you. And it's like, that's the recipe of narcissism. That's how you create narcissistic people. That's how you create egoistic people. That's how you create the so-called idea of patriarchy that this movie was villainizing. This movie literally created its own, it was sowing the seeds of its own villain within the audience that was watching the movie. And I felt that and I saw that. Anyway, I hope you do enjoy the movie. If you do watch it, don't take it too seriously if you do get the negative feelings from it. Just be aware that some negative things are there. And, if you do catch it, but don't hold on to them. Just take the empowerment that the movie does have to offer you and just learn how to channel that into something positive that you can use for your own life that will help you grow. As long as you don't hold it in and, let it slowly eat at you inside, then it can be a positive thing. This movie can be a positive thing if you do that. Anyway, thank you for listening. I did not mean to go this long, but I did. Do the best you can with what you got, and please have a great day.